Welcome to Filing for PPP Loan Forgiveness. This video will help provide you some practical information and tips about filing your PPP Loan Forgiveness application. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that we at AHOLA are not attorneys or financial advisors. This session is intended for educational and informative purposes only. I hope you find this video helpful and informative, but the information presented today should not in any way be construed as legal advice. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Ann Barr. I am one of the operations support managers at AHOLA. I am also part of AHOLA's COVID support team. I have been very involved this year with many of the COVID-related payroll legislation, including FFCRA pay, PPP loan forgiveness, and CARES Act employee retention credits and employer Social Security tax deferrals. I know that many of you are preparing to file your PPP forgiveness applications, and that this can be a daunting task, especially with all of the rules involved. Our objectives of this video are to explain how to request and use AHOLA's PPP Forgiveness Reports, to answer the most common questions that people have about the forgiveness applications, and to remove some of the stress you are feeling by helping to make you more confident about how to complete your PPP forgiveness application. Currently, the number one question people have is, what is the deadline for filing my PPP forgiveness application? Many people think that the forgiveness application must be filed immediately at the end of the covered or alternative payroll covered loan period. Other people have noticed the October 31, 2020 expiration date printed on the application forms and have asked if this is the filing deadline. The answer is, the deadline is the maturity date of the loan, which is either 2 or 5 years from loan origination, depending on your loan. However, if a borrower does not apply for loan forgiveness within 10 months after the last day of the borrower's loan covered period, then the loan payments are no longer considered deferred, and the borrower must begin making payments on the loan. For example, a borrower whose covered period ends on October 30, 2020 has until August 30th, 2021 to apply for forgiveness before loan payments are required to begin. Therefore, in order to avoid loan payments, the best practice is to file your forgiveness application within 10 months after the end of your loan's covered period. Also, you don't have to worry about the expiration date printed at the top of the forgiveness applications. This date doesn't refer to the filing deadline. It's an internal date used by the Small Business Administration for forms maintenance only. Another common question is, which PPP loan forgiveness application form should I use? As of October 2020, there are 3 forms available for forgiveness filing. If your loan was $50,000 or less, then you should use the new simplified form 3508S. This is a simple 1-page form. You're only required to provide a few pieces of information about your business and loan, to enter the dollar amount you are requesting for forgiveness, and then to attest to some statements to say that you followed the loan rules. If your loan was over $50,000, then you will either file Form 3508EZ or Form 3508. There are some conditions that must be met in order to qualify for Form 3508EZ. In an effort to keep this video brief, I'm not going to go through all of those conditions right now, but you can find them later, and I'll show you what websites you can go to for those. The EZ form is a 2-page form which requires minimal information including attesting to some statements to say that you followed the PPP loan rules. Form 3508 is the long form. It's the most complex with 4 pages to complete, including attesting to the statements. All 3 of these forms and the instructions can be found on the sba.gov website and also on our ahola.com website. The next common question is, how do I request PPP Forgiveness payroll reports from Ahola? We will be sending an email soon to clients with a list of questions to be answered regarding your employees and PPP loan. If you do not receive this email, you can send a request at any time for the list of PPP questions to covidsupport@ahola.com. Then send your answers back to covidsupport@ahola.com. We will enter the answers into your company record on iSolved and generate the forgiveness reports for you. We ask that you allow 5 business days for the reports to be sent to you since we're currently receiving a large number of requests. Common question number 4 is, how do I use all the information in the forgiveness reports? When you receive the email back from us, you will receive 2 forgiveness reports. One will be in Excel format and the other will be in a PDF format. The PDF is simply a condensed version of the Excel report. Many banks are asking for PDF reports as supporting documentation since a PDF looks more official than an Excel report. I'm going to break down the Excel report for you. The Excel report will show all the payroll information you need, and it will have the data to support all the calculations. There are 8 tabs in the Excel report. The summary tab will show the parameters used to generate the report, and it will give you the bottom line information about how much of your loan may be forgiven. The Schedule A, Worksheet Table 1, and Worksheet Table 2 tabs correspond to those sections on the long form 3508. The employee wage details, 2019 hours, 2020 hours, and employee loan period details tabs give you all the information to support the numbers on the first 4 tabs. Just keep in mind that the Ahola reports only contain information that is tracked through the payroll system. You may need to obtain other information from your records, such as employer health plan costs, rent, mortgage, utilities, etc. Before we start looking at the Excel report, I just want to give you an idea of what information from the Excel report you will need for your forgiveness application based on which application you're using. For the 3508S and 3508EZ forms, really the only number you need is total eligible payroll costs, which will be found on the summary tab. For form 3508, you will need to take numbers from the first 4 tabs on the Excel report. But regardless of which form you're using, you should review all the data on all the tabs for accuracy, because that information factors into your forgiveness amount and still must comply with all the PPP rules. For example, if you're using the 3508EZ form, you have to attest that you didn't reduce salaries by more than 25% for any employee during the loan period. The Excel report will give you the backup data to support, and it will show you if any employee's salary was reduced by more than 25%. Another important thing that I want to point out here is that if you paid any employees under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, the FFCRA, using COVID pay, then these wages must be excluded from your total eligible payroll costs. Please check to make sure that these wages are not included. And if you are unsure, just contact covidsupport@ahola.com. Okay, now we'll get into the Excel report. First, the Summary tab. Regardless of which application you're using, this tab should be reviewed as soon as you receive the report back from us. In this slide, I highlighted in yellow the cells that you should review. These cells show some of the information AHOLA entered based on the answers to the questions. You should review this information to make sure that it's correct. These fields will show your loan origination date and the loan period dates. They also show if you're using the covered or alternative payroll covered period, and if you're using the 8-week or 24-week period. Next, the main number on the Summary tab is total eligible payroll costs, which I highlighted in red here. This is the dollar amount you will report as payroll costs on Form 3508EZ and Form 3508. For Form 3508S, you will use this number and compare it to your loan amount to determine the amount that you enter in the forgiveness amount space. If you're filing the long form 3508, you will also use the Summary tab to get the loan forgiveness reduction percent and the reduction in wages amount, which are shown in blue here. If there are numbers in these two blue boxes other than 0, then this means you may not receive 100% forgiveness. It can also indicate that there is a discrepancy with dates or employee statuses in the payroll system. If there are numbers other than 0 in those blue boxes, you should carefully review the employee information in the Excel report. There could be a date or an employee status that needs to be corrected, such as an employee who terminated prior to the loan period, but who does not have the correct termination date in the payroll system. If you find any discrepancies, send an email to covidsupport@ahola.com and we will check for you. The Schedule A tab is only used for the long form 3508. The information on this tab corresponds to the lines on the Schedule A of your forgiveness application, so you can easily transfer this information to your application. The Worksheet Table 1 tab is used for the long form 3508. It will show employees who had 2019 annualized income of $100,000 or less, and it will give the loan period cash compensation and the average FTE counts, and also show any wage reduction amounts. The cash compensation amounts will automatically be capped at $15,385 if using the 8-week period, or $46,154 if using the 24-week period. I also want to point out on this slide the FTE reduction exceptions section. In this example, there are none. As you can see, the boxes are blacked out, but I want to explain what you will see. Here's an example of how the FTE reduction exceptions will appear at the bottom of the Worksheet Table 1 tab, if you have any. You will see the reason for the employee's exception, which will be taken from the answers that you provide back to AHOLA based on those PPP questions. And the FTE number will show the amount that's being added back to your total FTE count. Please note that if an employee terminated prior to the loan period or wasn't paid during the chosen FTE comparison period, then they will not be shown here, even if you've said that they should be exceptions, because those two situations do not apply as FTE reduction exceptions. The Worksheet Table 2 tab is used for the long form 3508. This table will show employees who had 2019 annualized income of over $100,000, and it will give the loan period FTE counts and wages. Like Worksheet Table 1, the amounts on Worksheet Table 2 tab will be automatically capped at the limits, the 15,385 or 46,154 limit. Please note that this tab will not show the FTE reduction exceptions. In some cases, those will appear on Worksheet Table 1. And also, the employees who appear on this worksheet are not subject to the salary hourly wage reduction calculations. The remaining tabs in the Excel report will show supporting data and information about the calculation methods used to determine the numbers. The Employee Wage Details tab and Employee Loan Period Details tab are used to support the numbers for all application forms. The 2019 hours and 2020 hours tabs are only used for the long form 3508 to show details for the two FTE comparison periods. One more thing I want to mention about the Employee Wage Details tab is the calculation of the salary hourly wage reduction, which you'll see on Worksheet Table 1. When you look at the Employee Wage Details tab in Excel, move all the way to the right, you will see at the top of the page some shaded cells that say hourly wage method and average annual wage method. There are descriptions to the right of those that explain how these methods are calculated. If an employee has no hours to calculate an hourly wage, then the average annual wage method is used. The method used for each employee will show in the Excel report on that tab. Please note that employees whose annualized 2019 wages were over $100,000 are not subject to the wage reduction. In the example above, you can see 6 rows with the wage reduction methods and percents. The other rows are grayed out, which means those employees are either owners or employees with 2019 annualized wages over $100,000. Common question number 5 is, I don't think some of the employees listed on Worksheet Table 2 are correct. I was expecting to see them on Table 1. What is the explanation for this? Here's the answer. The PPP rule for determining which worksheet to show an employee on is based on annualized 2019 wages. And the way annualized 2019 wages is calculated is to look at the 2019 pay date on which the employee had the highest gross wages and then annualize that amount. This number may be higher than the employee's actual 2019 gross wages. For example, suppose a salaried employee who is paid biweekly earned $3,000 gross wages each pay in 2019. And on the last pay of 2019, the employee also earned a bonus of $1,500. The employee's highest pay of 2019 was the last pay when she earned $3,000 salary plus the $1,500 bonus. The employee's annualized 2019 wages is $4,500 times 26 pays for a total of $117,000. Therefore, this employee would be reported on Worksheet Table 2. As you can see, this calculation may result in a higher number than the employee's actual 2019 gross wages. For this example, the employee's actual gross was $3,000 times 26 pays plus the one-time $1,500 bonus for a total of $79,500. And also note, this same calculation method applies to determining the 2019 cash compensation for business owners as well. Another common question is, why are the owner's information missing from Worksheet Table 1 and Table 2? The answer is that the PPP rules require the owner's wages to be listed separately on Schedule A, line 9. The owners are not listed at all on the worksheets table 1 or table 2. The next common question is, where can I find the employer, state, and local taxes paid during the loan period? This information can be found on the Schedule A tab on line 8. You can also view the breakdown by employee by pay date on the Employee Loan Period Details tab in column T, which is titled State Local ER Tax. This total is the employer paid state and local taxes. In Ohio, this really is only Ohio State unemployment. Now, you may notice and have employees that show zeros in column T. The reason for this is that state unemployment is paid up to an annual employee wage limit, and then the tax stops until the following year. The 2020 Ohio unemployment wage limit is $9,000. If an employee reached the $9,000 wage limit prior to the start of your loan period, then there will be no Ohio State unemployment taxes paid during the loan period, and the tax amount for the employee will be $0. The final common question is Congress expected to change the forgiveness rules again and perhaps ease the application for loans over $50,000? The answer is yes, it's possible. However, at this time, we don't know if or when any additional forgiveness changes will occur. Many analysts expect further measures that will ease the forgiveness requirements, and many people are continuing to recommend waiting to file for forgiveness. However, you should consult with your CPA, business advisor, or lender to determine when it is best for you to file for your PPP loan forgiveness. We've made it to the end of the presentation. This video was meant to give a high-level overview of the forgiveness reports and how to use them. I didn't cover everything in the reports or every situation that may apply to your business. If there are other questions that you have, just send an email to covidsupport@ahola.com and someone from the COVID support team will answer your questions. Thank you again for watching this video. I hope it helps you to understand the AHOLA PPP forgiveness reports and that it makes your work to file the forgiveness application a little easier. Please check the www.ahola.com website for more information about PPP loan forgiveness and other COVID-related topics. Good luck with filing your forgiveness application.